Alright, welcome. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to go ahead and explain everything about angles as quickly as possible. If you miss something, go ahead and rewind the video, okay? The first thing you need to know is that this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Okay. You should also know is that we think in terms of this as a full circle, right? And a full circle has 360 degrees. So if you take that and you divide it into 4 pieces, or the 4 quadrants, you get 90 degrees. So each of the quadrants is 90 degrees, and you should, you kind of know this because we usually draw a little rectangle, little square here to indicate the 90 degrees. We always start measuring our angles here on the x-axis, so this is the initial side. And so if we measure from here to here, that would be this would be 0 degrees. This would be 90 degrees. Another 90 would make this 180, right? So now we're talking about this here, half a circle. If we go from here and then we add another 90, that would make this 270. And then if you go completely around the circle, well, then you would have 360 degrees. So 0 degrees and 360 are essentially the same angle. That means, and which direction did we go? We went this direction, which is the opposite way that a clock would normally turn. So we call this one counterclockwise. So when you go counterclockwise, your values are going to be positive, as indicated by the ones that I did here. Now, if we went clockwise, the values are going to be negative. So how would that kind of indicate? So if you would start at 0 and you went this way, that would be negative. That would be 90 degrees in the clockwise position, or negative 90. 0 minus 90 would make this a negative 90. If you went another 90 degrees, that would make this one negative 180 degrees. And if you went another 90 degrees, that would make this one negative 270 degrees. And if you complete the circle, well, then now you just went negative 360. And you can keep going another negative 360 if you went full circle. So what are the degrees? The degrees are 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, and so on. In radians, it would be 0, pi over 2, pi, 3/2 pi, 2 pi, and so on, because you can continue going in the circle. Okay, so where did I come up with these numbers? If you think of a circle as having a circumference, that circumference is 2 pi r. If the radius happens to be 1, then the circumference is 2 pi. So there are 2 pi around this full circle, right? And if you take 2 pi and you divide it into 4 pieces, each piece would be 1/2. So each of these quadrants is 1/2 pi. So in radians, 0 degrees is 0 radians. 90 degrees is pi over 2, or 1/2 pi. 1/2 pi is the same thing as pi over 2. All right, it's an understood one right here. So this is pi halves and another pi half. So think about it. If you have half a pi and another half a pi, then you have a complete pi. So 2 quadrants make a pi. 3/2 pi would be 1/2, 2/2, 3/2 pi. So in radians, this would be 3/2 pi. Remember, the pi is in the numerator. Are we clear? And then if you go a full circle in terms of pi, well, if this is pi and this would be another pi, so now you have 2 pi. Right? And then if you go in the negative direction, then they would be negative. Alright, what we're going to do now is we're going to measure angles. And if you look over here, what we want to measure is what angle gets measured by this red winding circle. The only clue that we have is that this section right here is 60 degrees. So then we start looking, and then we notice that it's going in the counterclockwise position, which means the angles are going to be positive. And then you start from the beginning and you notice that it goes a full circle. Well, a full circle is going to be 360 degrees. And then it went 1 quadrant. Each quadrant is 90. And then it went this little section right here, but we don't know what that little section is. That's supposed to be a little question mark right here. But we know that this part is 60 and the full quadrant is 90. So this must be 30. So plus 30 degrees. And 360 plus 90 plus 30 is 480 degrees. So this is 480 degrees, this entirely swirly turn. All right, this one, the first thing we need to notice is that this is going clockwise, which means the angles are going to be negative. It's in degrees. And here we go. We start from the beginning. And let me get the pencil. It doesn't look like. All right, so it went one full circle, but we're going to say negative 360 because it's going clockwise. And then it did it again. Right, it went another full circle, so that's minus 360. And then it went a full quadrant, so that's minus 90. And then it went this section right here, but we happen to know what that is. This happens to be a 70. And then when you tally all of this up, you get negative 880. Okay. All right, the next one. This happens to be in radians, so get ready for some fractions. And it's going clockwise. So it's going to be negative. All right, we start at the beginning. And it went a full circle. Well, a full circle in radians happens to be pi, and it's be negative because we said we're going clockwise. And then we want to know what this last little bit piece is. All right, let's see. Well, we know what this section is pi over 6. And this is a full quadrant. So a full quadrant is 1/2 over pi. So let's do the calculations on the side. All right, we know that the full quadrant is 1/2 pi. And we want to get rid of this part that we know of, pi over 6. All right, 1/6 pi. And in order to do this, we need a common denominator. Right, so times 3 times 3. Right, so this becomes 3 pi over 6 minus. Right, so 3 minus 1 is 2. So this is, and basically that's 1/3 pi. All right, so this section right here happens to be 1/3 pi. So minus 1/3 pi. All right, combining these two, let's do some more fractions. Here we go. Minus 2 pi minus 1/3 pi. We need a common denominator. And if you can do this in your calculators, you're very lucky. All right, so this is negative 6 pi over 3 minus 1/3 pi. And negative 6 minus 1 is negative 7. Right? So the entire twirly turn here happens to be negative 7/3 pi. All right, the last one. It is going counterclockwise. I can spell counterclockwise. So that means the angles are going to be positive. And it's also in radians, so get ready. All right, let's see. It went from here, and it did one full turn, so that's 2 pi. And then it did it again. Try and be really careful. So that's another 2 pi. And I'm not going to stop here. It went all the way up to here, so half a circle would be a pi. And then it went this little section right here, right? And I want to know what that is. Well, let's see. What do I know? I know that from here to here is this, right? And I also know, I'm trying to pick a color that's going to stand out. Try black. I also know that the full half circle happens to be pi. So in order to find the difference, if I take this whole pi and I take away this or purple one, I'll be left with the one that I want, right? So then I gotta do my side calculations. Let's see, pi minus 11 12 pi. Let me turn this one into a fraction. 12 over 12. What's 12 minus 11? 1. Alright, so this section happens to be 112 pi. So here we go, 112 pi. Alright, so the sum of this is all the twirly-twirlies. And here I go, 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So this is 5 pi plus 112 pi. And I gotta turn this into a fraction, so this is 12 over 12. 12 times 5 is 60. 60 plus 1 is 61. I'm pretty sure that is not divisible. So this trolley here happens to be 61 12ths pi. Alright, we're going to sketch some triangles. So let's see. We're trying to sketch negative 85. So let's try to remember the things that we know. And I'll be working here underneath it. We know that this is 0 and we know that this is negative 90. So negative 85 has to be somewhere here, right? Negative 85 degrees. And it would be in quadrant 4. The next example, right, starting from here, yeah, I go negative 85 right here. The next example is 150. So let's start thinking about what we know. We know this is 0, this is 90, this is 180. So 150 has to be around here, right? So sketch it right here. From here to here would be 150 degrees, and it would be in quadrant 2. Right? Always start from here. Alright, pi over 6. Alright, here's the fun part. We know this is 0, and we know this is pi. And I always find this easier. I want to turn this into 6. So this is 6 over 6. So I gotta turn this into 6 parts. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1/6 would be this one right here, right? So then 1/6 would be here, right? Starting from here. This would be 1/6 pi. Oh no, I'm running into that territory over there. Alright, so this angle would be pi over 6, and it would be in quadrant 1. Alright, the next one, minus 5 pi over 4. Well, it's obviously going in this direction, right? Starting from here, it's negative. And negative 5 pi over 4. Turn this into a mixed number, however you want to think about it. Let me see, 4 goes into 5. So this is negative pi and negative pi fourths. Another way of thinking about it is this is 0 and this is negative pi. So this would be negative 4 over 4, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4 sections. So this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and negative 5 pi over 4. Alright, so this entire angle over here is negative 5 pi over 4.